we are referring to this making a CQC paragraph as we create our first CQC together. So the first thing I need you to do now, those of you who are handwriting this information is going to go in that small white section at the top of your paper. So don't write on the lines. You're going to go to the tippy top white section, and you're going to put your name, Mrs. Miser, and the date, all in that small white space in the top left-hand corner. So go ahead and write that. Make sure you actually put your name and not Y-O-U-R, name. Put your name. So your name, Mrs. Miser, English 3, and the date. Make sure you write the date that way. The next thing I'd like you to do is up in the right-hand corner, I want you to add your last name in just the top right-hand corner, right to the edge of your paper. You'll put your last name and the page number. And if you even want to flip it on the back and put your last name and page 2, so you have the front and back covered. And if you're typing this, we'll eventually go over how to do that in here. This is for handwriting it. Yes.
In the top left, are we supposed to put our last name too?
Yes, first and last name. Yep. And in the center, on the very first line, I would like you guys to put CQC1. So I'd like you to skip lines for this. A lot of people, they put little dots kind of up and down the margins on the left-hand side for every other line to help remind them to skip lines when you're handwriting it. If you forget, don't start over. Just start skipping lines wherever you left off. So if you want to put little dots on every other line here on the left, go ahead and do that to remind yourself to skip lines. I also want you to put a little squiggly, kind of, I'll show you right here in this space, because I would like you guys to indent your first sentence. All right, so here's how your setup should be. This should be in the white space. Make sure you didn't put any of this information on the lines. It should all be up in the top margin with your last name, page number. If you flip on the back, put your last name and put 2, and then we've got this information here. So if I'm jumping back to this cheat sheet, this is in your packet, making a CQC paragraph. It breaks it down how you're going to create this. And this is going to take a lot of practice. So we kind of do this first one together so you get a sense of how this works. I want you to notice on this form, I have examples of sentences that are model sentences, which means you can use the format of these sentences to help you create your CQCs. That's what they're there for, to guide you so that you can use the kind of same language that's highlighted in your own papers. So my first sentence, if we're talking about the article, the CQC1, and in this case, it's the climate change has arrived, I need to introduce the main idea of my paragraph. I'm not going to argue anything yet. I'm just going to let my readers know, hey, this is what I'm talking about. So my first sentence, and you can write this down as we do the first one together. You can write this, or if you want to change it up a little bit, you absolutely can. But my first sentence I'm going to put down is climate change has been a debatable topic for the past decade. It's very basic, kind of general overview of what that article, CQC1 article, is about. So you'll write that down first. Like I said, if you want to tweak it a little bit and add your own ideas, go for it. Or if you want to copy this word for word, you can. So if I jump to my next sentence, I'll come back to this. Thank you. My next two sentences, I am supposed to provide my claim. I'm supposed to let my readers know, what am I talking about here? So there's an example sentence that I'm going to mold mine off of, and you can look at that and refer to this in the future when you start writing these on your own. But I have to make sure I mention the author and the title of the piece. So if I jump back to my paper, I know the article we're working with does not have an author. So whenever that happens for practice purposes, I usually use Sally Smith as my author. So in Sally Smith's article, comma, climate change has arrived. I have given my readers the author's name, and I've given them the title of the article. The next bit here is a summary of the article overall. Gets a little more specific than my topic sentence, which is supposed to be vague. So I said, Smith suggests that humans play a large role in climate change and can help eliminate some of the major problems the world is facing. So I'm kind of going into a little more detail here about specifically what the article discussed. So I'm 2 sentences in. And remember, you can write this word for word and copy it down exactly as it is, or if you want to switch it up and kind of put your own phrases, you can, totally up to you. So I'm going to jump over real quick. I know some of you are still writing. Part 2 of my claim says, in this example here specifically, this is a really good opportunity for me to zoom in on a more specific argument that the author brings up. So to kind of bounce off of what the author, I might just pick like one main idea that she brings up. And there are several, because she talks about money. She talks about different natural disasters that are happening. She talks about the history of some of these natural disasters, some scientific findings. I could pick any one of those things to zoom in on, but I'm going to go over how specifically humans may be causing the horrific weather happening in the past few years. And I have a specific quote in mind that I want to use for the next portion of this. So once again, I'd like for you to use the word that's highlighted, but feel free to kind of take this in your own direction if you want to change it up a little bit, or you can write this down exactly how I have it. We'll end up doing the claim and the quote together, and then you guys will finish the comment part on your own. So the last thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to jump back over to my cheat sheet, I am going to create my quote, which we have been practicing and practicing. How do you embed quotes in this section? And this part of the paper gives you all kinds of examples that you can use. So I'm going to go back, and I really like the first sentence, and I think the first sentence is introduced nicely by what I've got going on right here. So I'm going to kind of zoom out a little bit for you. So I have Smith explains how science is proving this fact. I decided to use the colon rule. You guys could use the speech tag rule, the embedding rule, the that rule. I decided to use the colon, and I chose this quote: for years, climate scientists have been wary of attributing extreme weather directly to man-made atmospheric warming, but that's changing in the face of historic heat waves and cascading natural disasters. Notice I did my in-text citation. They're highlighted in blue. I've got Smith there and my page number here. And that is essentially your claim and your quote. You've got it set up. So to review again, I started off with a topic sentence that was a vague description of the article. Then I introduced the article and the author and gave a quick summary of that article with a little more detail. And now I am introducing the quote that I really want to talk about in the rest of my paper. And we'll do this together a couple more times, and then you guys will start doing these on your own. But now I want you to take on the rest. So I realize some of you are still typing, and once I get this information down, I will scroll back up so you can continue. But here's where you go next. So if you've got this quote, now I have to first offer an explanation. Explain the quote. What's it saying? What's it trying to prove? The next thing I want to do is offer up my opinions. What do I think about the historic heat waves, the cascading natural disasters, humans having an impact? What are my thoughts and beliefs on that? And you can agree or disagree. It's totally up to you. The next thing I want to do is bring up a new point. So maybe I want to talk about the money that she mentions in the article, or maybe I want to talk about other specific disasters, or maybe I want to talk about what the future might hold, or the carbon footprint part of the article. And I want to share my thoughts and ideas about that. And I'm not doing another quote. I might mention something like Smith also says or talks about the impact financially these disasters have had on the planet. And then I go into talking about what do I think about this money being spent on natural disasters and the evidence that connects that to how humans are the ones who are sort of responsible for these big changes in the weather. And then you end it with a call to action. So where do we go from here? What should we do? What are some actions we can take to make this situation better? Or what do we need to know moving forward concerning this topic? So this is what you want to start, and it should be about 5 to 8 sentences long, following your quote, tackling these different ideas. And then you'll want to end it by creating a works cited, which we'll go over together. But the very end, we'll have a works cited section. So you have the information you need at the top of the paper, and we'll create that together. All right.